Is there anything so magical as the sound of children? Yet, it is estimated that 10 to 15% of children in the United States have some sort of language disorder. They arise from a variety of factors, some known and some unknown. If your child has problems with oral or written language, there's a place you can go for help: the Scottish Rite Centers. At Scottish Rite Centers all over the country, professionals provide help and therapy for children and families from a variety of backgrounds. This story is about how the work they do opens up our children's world to communication.
To fly like an eagle, high above on wings unbroken, and see the world unfold with dreams unspoken. On the wings of words, lift me high upon the wind, through the sky in my imagination, where the words are my friends. On the wings of words, sailing high into the sky, and see all the world shine bright before me. With my song I can fly.
We watched him, and he seemed to do everything that a normal baby would do. He rolled over, and he lifted his head, and he seemed to be fine.
Because he was so physical early, he crawled early and walked early, I was really surprised when he wasn't speaking early.
And you could see that she had a very, very strong desire to read, okay? But she just wasn't there. There was something missing. A key was missing.
To comprehend the world around them, to express their emotions and needs, to change their environment. This is language development in the young mind. But to some children, our world of words is confusing. Our use of language, foreign.
It's really important for people to understand the difference between speech and language.
Speech-language pathologist Dr. Martin Fisher works with speech and language disorders.
That's right. Why do you think he was sent to bed without eating
Because
anything?
no supper.
Speech refers to the physical production of sounds that make up the words of a language, whereas language refers to the rule system that governs the meaning of words, how words are put together to form sentences, and how we use sentences in the social context of language.
These rules apply to both written as well as spoken language.
This is the princess.
A child with a spoken or written language disorder, such as dyslexia, has not developed the rules of language in a typical fashion.
Dyslexia is a written language disability. This means that these children come into this world having great difficulty with the printed symbols of our language, the two-dimensional letters that we find in the alphabet, but they may not.
Anna Ramey is a national expert on dyslexia.
We usually don't find this problem actually until children go to school, because that's when they first learn to read, and until they get to school, they may look like every other child.
A child may not have internalized the rules of language. So, for example, he may have difficulty either understanding language or producing his ideas with language. Now, this problem may be either understanding spoken language, or it may be in reading or writing.
Will you give the doctor a cookie?
Yeah.
Okay, say
No.
Parents are usually the ones who first recognize a problem.
There's Santa Claus and his reindeer. Do the reindeer want cookies?
I would say about 12 months it was that he was not speaking much, so he was pointing a lot. And with that, we were beginning to see that he is having problems communicating.
Everything was mommy to him, so even at 12 months, we weren't guaranteed that mommy meant me.
What I was hearing was a variety of sounds. He was making sounds, but he obviously wasn't able to put words together.
You know, when you want to do something, and you think you ought to be able to do it, but you can't, and you just don't know what the reason is.
Others could sit around doing. What's that?
Absolutely nothing.
What they'll do is a much...
Pediatricians, such as Dr. George Cohen, frequently alert parents to symptoms in the young child.
By the time he's approaching a year and a half, he should have several words beyond Mama and Dada. By the time he's 2 years, he probably ought to have at least a couple dozen words, and closer to 50 for most kids. And by the time they're 3, the average person ought to probably have about 3/4 of what he says intelligible to an outside adult.
That's right.
By 4, you ought to be able to understand almost everything he says.
In a turtle.
The interesting thing with language development is that there's a whole spectrum of people that believe it will come. So part of me was saying, oh, don't get excited about it, it will come. We have a 5-year-old son who was slower to talk than my 8-year-old daughter. So we weren't really concerned about David's language. It was the pediatrician who insisted that he have a language evaluation, because he said this is not normal.
So on his 2-year checkup with the pediatrician, he asked me how his speech was coming, and I said I was a little concerned about it. And he said, well, let's not worry about it. Let's do something. Let's have him tested by a speech pathologist.
Okay, here's our next one.
A speech-language pathologist evaluates children for a wide range of speech and language problems.
Mommy drives the bus.
Well, in order to evaluate a young child such as David, who's very active, you really have to follow their lead.
Let's see.
You want to assess his expressive language or his output. You want to assess his understanding of language, or what we call his receptive language. You want to assess his speech sound as well as his pragmatic development, which is his use of language. So basically at this age, it's just a lot of observation, because as you can tell, it's hard to put a child in a table and put a test book in front of them and say, point, or what's this, things like that.
Apple. Good trying.
Professionals who screen school-age children for written language disorders recognize discrepancies between the child's performance in reading, writing, and spelling and the child's strengths and abilities in other areas.
To read.
Very good. Beth, Brian, what's our first activity?
Put a dollar.
What letter? Beth is a dear, charming, endearing little girl, very bright little girl. Good job. She came to me all bubbly and would rather draw than read. Immediately I knew. She read mostly by memory, or she read by guessing. She also decided, if I read very, very fast, no one will know for sure maybe if I've made a mistake or not.
During therapy sessions with preschool children, parents may observe the process.
Yeah, which one?
Okay, here you go. Purple.
Remember to put your lips together. Purple.
Good
job. Here you go.
The speech-language pathologist focuses on the individual child's abilities and works to expand them.
We've got some... What are you doing?
Hey, making sandwich.
Well, how did you do that? Get your seats.
The amount of time spent with each child depends upon the child's needs.
Okay. Could you tell me what you're wearing? What are you wearing?
We can't hear you. Say it again. A little one.
Some children benefit from participating in a group, while others need individual therapy sessions.
¿Cuál es esto? Oh, ¿esto? Yo. Yo.
A variety of techniques are used to meet the child's needs.
David, good work.
We've discovered that AR says R, so now...
Specialists teach the dyslexic child through a very structured process.
AR. Right. It's a sequential series of learnings, beginning with alphabet activity and reviewing what you've learned the day before, moving on into new learnings. And we'll be ready to skywrite. Using large motor muscles, very visual, very auditory, and the way to secure all single letter sounds and all cluster sounds.
The techniques that we use with older children can be a little more imaginative. For example, in our center, we've been using microcomputers to work with children who are between the ages of about 9 and 15.
Computer-assisted therapy captures the imagination and helps children restructure their thoughts.
Woof, I want my food.
And maybe more importantly, they've increased in their ability to feel good about themselves and about their ability to learn. Hanging on to the caboose.
No, Indy hanging on.
Oh, Indy's hanging on to it.
Yeah, he already got into computers and lying down on one of the beds. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
The earlier we can get to these youngsters if they have problems, the more time there is to work with them. So it's not a matter of having to undo problems, but to help correct them and get the child onto the right track language-wise.
If we had waited, like everybody says, oh, he'll finally talk, well, maybe he will. At 3, he'll just start pouring forth sentences. But in the meantime, we would have lost 12 months of very valuable communication as he expresses his little world to us. And that's just been totally invaluable for us.
Yay, David! Good work!
The exciting part was that within a few weeks of having speech therapy, he was putting words together. To go from no words to over 50 words in 6 weeks was really exciting for all of us. And obviously Ian was excited about it too, because he had a lot of things he wanted to tell us.
She now has an absolute desire to read. She will read on her own, and she has excellent comprehension. And it's just a 180-degree turnaround. She's got the key, she has what's necessary, and I'm very, very pleased with her.
Papa, Poppy Bear's a furniture today.
Today, at nearly 100 Scottish Rite centers in 35 states, children with language disorders are being helped to understand, to speak, to read, to write, and to experience life in all its glory. Scottish Rite centers are open to children regardless of race or creed or the family's ability to pay. Thanks to the commitment of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, thousands of children are becoming happier and more productive. Our children are tomorrow's citizens and the hope for our world. Now listen, what is this story? I'd like to know. It's what?
The giant.